Hi all. Here we go again. Take 100. So, I have done this several times and I keep feeling like I'm missing stuff, and so I keep coming back and doing it. But at this point, I am done. So, I will go ahead and I will give it my best shot and I'll give you everything I got. And if I missed anything, I might add it in here or there, or you feel free to ask. All right. So, this case is from my placement, obviously. Um, it is one of my first cases that I was assigned when I got my field placement, or when I started getting cases assigned anyway. And it's one that I haven't had cases very long, and so I feel like it's the one that I feel I can actually like give enough detail to do a proposal for, or actually do like a project for at this point. So anyway, my client, his name is Brad. He is 35. His wife is 25, and then they have two 18-month-old girls. They're twins. So they have been married for 5 years. Prior to them meeting and getting married, he had been in a construction accident and fallen off some scaffolding back in 2006, and landed headfirst on some concrete. He lost consciousness and was taken to the hospital. He was in the hospital in ICU for, I think he said, a couple of days, but I would have to go back and check notes on that. But he was in the hospital for a week. And so he reports it as being diagnosed as a TBI, but I don't have verification for that. So I'm just taking that per his report. And then he said that after that, he noticed a difference in his personality, as far as like his being short tempered and being really irritable, or easily irritated anyway, and more so than before. And then one of the main things that he talks about is having issues with his short term memory. So him and his wife relocated locally last year after he was offered a job. And so they moved here for his work. She remained being a stay-at-home mom like she was before. He found out pretty early on that this job was a lot more stressful than he thought it was going to be, and then it's just kind of built up since then. A lot of the stress is from stuff that he can't, has nothing to do with necessarily his job, and it doesn't have any effect on, he doesn't have any effect on it. It's nothing that he can really solve, or that he's necessarily even contributing to. It's all, things that he sees that should be done to make better best practices for their working conditions and so on and so forth. So it's nothing that he can do in his position. So he's dealing with this immense amount of stress. He works Monday through Thursday, sometimes Fridays, depending on what the load looks like at work. And because his job site's so far out, they have to ride a bus, and so he's away from home for 16 hours on those days. And so when he gets home, he's so mentally exhausted from one, like being up all day, having to do the travel time, everything else, and then two, having this immense amount of stress at his job, that when he gets home and he's like bombarded with two toddlers who are so excited that he's home and want to see him because they haven't seen him all day, and a wife who is completely frazzled because of dealing with aforementioned toddlers all day, that she is desperately seeking his help as soon as he walks in the door, even though he is like really wound up. And so it got to the point where like it's been affecting his relationship with his wife by just making it harder for him to be able to like feel like he can connect with her. And then on top of that, he is now like what ultimately ended up being like the catalyst that, or like the straw that broke the camel's back on bringing him into services for him to seek services, is that he was hiding out in the bathroom so that he could be away from everybody at home because he just couldn't handle anymore. And so that's basically what ended up bringing him in at that point. Him and his he feels like he isn't there for his kids as much as he should. He feels like his relationship with his wife is being really run down over the whole thing. And then because they had moved here from somewhere else, they lost all of their support system. So they were really close with family and had tons of family support before they had moved down, and so now they have nothing. And then because he is working all the time and she is with very young kids that she hasn't left the house with, they don't have a lot of like social interaction, friends, anything like that established here. So I think that kind of brings in a lot with him and his wife, because he's getting at least a little social interaction at work, whereas with her, she's getting none, and she's hoping that she can get that from him, or that's his take on it anyway. So this is the case that I would like to do for this. A couple of questions that I do have on it that I'm hoping that you guys can kind of give me a hand with, because I would just like to get your point of view on it. I've talked to a couple of people at my agency, and it seems like everybody has a different take on it. So I'm, sometimes, especially being so new into it, I'm like, okay, which direction am I going here? Because I'm getting feedback all over the place. So I would love your take on it as well. So my questions that I have is, does Brad's previous head injury play a part in the relationship problem between him and his wife, and if so, how and to what extent? I have, with that one, I always have to keep in mind that like she didn't know him before he had his head injury and had this personality shift. So his reactions to situations and stress and whatnot are things that she's familiar with, just not at this level. Anyway, and so my second one would be, how would you personally address Brad's job dissatisfaction levels and high levels of stress in therapy? Like what your target would be and what you would be engaging him with. So those are my questions, and I'm sure I've probably missed something that might be vital. So just reply and comment, and I will get back to you with whatever details you need. Thanks.